we just imagine for a moment that look exchanged between Jesus and the crowd that was before him. Imagine the eyes of Jesus, his kind of furrowed brow, as he looked out on that massive crowd hungering for righteousness and longing for healing. Think of the way they must have looked at him, brimming with hope and expectation, because suddenly with him, new things were possible. Things were possible that were not possible before he came. It was possible now that their legs could work again, that their eyes would see again. It was possible now that this hope that was just beginning to dawn in their hearts could come to fulfillment in him. He opened for them a totally new horizon, and only he could guide them there. It was all there in that gaze of compassion as pity rose in the heart of Jesus for this shepherdless people. Friends, we have to know that he has the same gaze towards us. It's what we find at the very beginning of the Catechism. At every time, it says, at every time and in every place, God draws close to us. He calls us to seek him, to know him, to love him with all our strength. He calls us together, scattered and divided by sin, into the unity of his family, the church. This is the introduction. It's the first paragraph. The introduction to every other teaching of the church. That God draws near to us as a shepherd draws close to his flock in order to guide us together into the unity of the family of the church. When Jesus gets off that boat with the crowd before him, before he teaches them, he looks at them with pity. And this is so important for us. We see this in children. It's impossible to teach a child that is suffering from trauma or feels like they have been abandoned and have no purpose. It's sad to see this, but many of us have seen it before. Children who are sleeping in a different bed every night. Children who don't know if they'll get dinner in the evening. Children who show up to school in the morning without breakfast because there was no adult there in the morning when they woke up. We can't expect children to learn to multiply or to memorize the state capitals if they don't have a reason to get out of bed in the morning. That look of mercy, that look of compassion, that look of tenderness has to come first. First, we have to recognize the need that is in front of us. First, we have to draw close to those who are longing for something more. It's the starting point for every effort of evangelization. It's why Pope Francis has called the church a field hospital, doing triage in the midst of a battlefield. And at the same time, we have to remember that the compassion of Jesus comes from the fact that these people are wandering aimlessly, that they have no direction in life, no sense of their ultimate destiny and what it is that they're really made for. This is why he teaches them. He teaches them so that they'll know where to go and that they'll know that there is someone who will guide them. And friends, this is the great balance that is demanded of us in the church. To have pity, to show mercy, and at the same time, to call people to conversion of life that helps them to understand what it is that we're made for. We can show mercy and help people to recover from their woundedness, but we also have to help them to stop wounding themselves. We teach people so that they'll not fall into the same sins over and over again, so that they'll not be defined by their sinfulness or by their brokenness. We teach them so that they'll understand that they're made for something more, that God loves them and gives them a new identity by belonging to Him. Too often, way too often, we draw a thick line between showing mercy and teaching the faith. And I'm not sure where this comes from, but it creates a division that wreaks havoc in our church, pitting people against each other. And we can't do it. There's no room for that in the church. There's no room for that kind of division that separates us and drives a wedge between us. Both mercy and catechesis are essential to understanding the truth found in Jesus Christ through the church. This is the great gift that we have received in this place. Here, God comes to us. Here, we encounter the Lord who draws near to us as His beloved sons and daughters. Here, God looks at us with so much tenderness because we are all wounded. We have all been hurt. We all have something in us that cries out for help and compassion. And God has given us this place where we can be embraced. Thank God. He's given us this concrete place where we can experience His tender embrace. Like a father or a mother who holds on to their child because they're afraid or because they've been hurt. And every good parent not only embraces their child out of love, but they'll also say, now let's talk about what we've learned from this experience so that we don't put our fork into the light socket again, because that didn't work out so well. The shepherd both cares for the sheep and gives them direction. And this is part of all of our responsibilities as Christians. All of us in some way are a shepherd to the people in our community. You know, I suspect that there are some people who have never come back since the pandemic began. I suspect that there are some people who have no thought of coming back since the pandemic began. I suspect that there have been people over time who have wandered away from this parish or who have wandered away from the church. If you can think of one person whom you know has wandered away, one person who might have walked away and has never found a home, then call them today. Call them today. Call them so that they'll know that they are loved. Look, I'm not asking you to call people and steal people from other parishes. Please, don't do that. That would be a terrible thing for me to say. I'm not going to say that. I'm kidding. But call them. Call them so that they'll know that they're loved. So that they'll know that they're missed. Greater than the sadness of people walking away is the fact that we don't even care. That we don't say anything. That we let them walk away and pretend that it doesn't hurt them in some way. We're called to be shepherds to all of our people, to call them, to bring them back so that they can be embraced here, so that if they've walked away because they've been wounded, that we can heal that wound. So that if they're hurting or wandering aimlessly in life, they'll know that they can come here and find direction and rediscover their purpose. So that they'll know that there is a community waiting here in this place to embrace them and to love them and to show them mercy. One phone call. That's it. Just one phone call. If you can think of one person, maybe we'll all call the same person and they'll get the hint. Who knows? But just one person, one call. That's not that hard. One phone call. Just so that people will know that the shepherd is looking for them.